With that being said, it looks like we all need to make sure our video is on. Can you hear me? Okay. We need to make sure our videos are turned on if we are a board member or administrator for recording purposes. You can mute your sound unless you want to be heard, make a comment and so forth. With that being said, I think we have everyone. We have John Belishek, we have Jeff Stangler present, Gary Michael is present, Travis Bowman present at the building, Jay Schneider present at the building, Dan Houlihan present remotely, and Pam Baker present remotely. So all board members are here, so I will call the meeting to order at 6:10 p.m. We also have Administrator Superintendent Whitehurst, Principals Wilson and Principals Bastine, along with Activity Director and Community Ed Director Jeff Baran. I will comment on my board chair script that due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, the Minnesota directive to residents to stay at home and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to Minnesota Statute 13D-021 during a pandemic. The meeting is allowed to be held remotely. Due to the health pandemic, we've determined it's not feasible for the members of the public to be present at the regular meeting location, and we have provided the ability for them to attend via Zoom, which is identified on our board book agenda, located on the WEM website. So they may monitor it from a remote location. Again, we've talked about requiring you to mute your microphones when you're not speaking, and raise your hand when you'd like to address the board, or unmute when you'd like to address the board members. We will have to do roll call voting due to the remote nature of this meeting, and I will call off your names prior to voting. This meeting is being recorded and will be accessible on our website as soon as reasonably possible. Thanks to Mr. Yankee. All right, with that said, are there any additional agenda items, Joel? Okay. I know that things were added after Friday, so hopefully everybody's gotten a chance to log in and look at those items. But is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second with that.
Okay, so I'm dealing with technology duplication. So I did hear Dan first. John, save yourself for another one, but Jeff Stangler made the motion, Dan Houlihan seconded to approve the agenda as presented for the June 22nd regular school board meeting. So by roll call vote, please state your vote. John?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And Pam Baker, yes. By roll call vote 7-0, motion and agenda has been approved for this evening's meeting. Okay. All right, so then moving along, the first item up is to approve the regular meeting minutes from May 18th. Those were attached to the board books for review. I'll second, unless somebody else did. So Gary Michael made the motion, Pam Baker seconded to approve the May 18th, 2020 regular school board meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Okay, by roll call vote then for approval. John?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Travis, Travis, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Jay,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and myself, Pam Baker, yes. 7-0 minutes from May 18th have been approved. June financial report. Gary,
Just a second. I gotta find it here. Oh, can you guys hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. Says my internet stopped working, but. Okay. Yep, somebody else will have to do it. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Okay, so I'll make a motion. I have the numbers up in front of me, but then Gary, you can maybe review the transactions for discussion, please. So we have bills and payroll. I make a motion to approve bills and payroll of $1,474,231.93. Deposits, $2,427,134.41, and transfers of $1 million. Is there a second? Okay, Gary. Okay, so Pam Baker made the motion for bills and payrolls and deposits and transfers as stated. Is there discussion? Gary?
Yeah, so I looked through things and sent questions just in chat here to Margaret, and she's got some answers. So I had 3 questions. 79053, which is for about 32,000, I think, and that was 150 Chromebooks. So all it said was technology, so that was my question. The 79125 is the second half of the Westica Special Ed contract, and I wasn't sure of that's the end of this year or if it was the beginning of next year. So
End of this year.
got it. Thank you. And then 79128 is okay, property tax bills, street assessment. Okay.
Yeah, we don't typically pay property tax like normal properties, but when there's street work, we'll get those. And then I will point out, if you look to the first summary page where it has the 3 columns for May additional transaction, June transactions, under wire payments, about halfway down, I added in a line for construction services for wires. Wires are usually, the Blue Cross Blue Shield is one large payment each month for health insurance, and that will change going forward because all the teachers move to PEEP. So a majority of our health insurance, or I shouldn't say a majority, but a large chunk of it will no longer be there. So if you're used to seeing that $108,000 amount on there, that will probably change. And then we've added construction services in there, and that's $57,000. That was licensure to the Minnesota Department of Labor, and they just required an online payment. So I thought I'd highlight that since it's so large. Typically, wire payments are just, FICA, TRA, federal income, state income, a few miscellaneous payroll liabilities, but we really restrict wire payments to be just payroll payments. So that's why I wanted to highlight that construction services.
And there were a couple large county tax payments this year, one over $1 million. That must have been Stewart County, and then a couple of state aid payments as well. So that's all I had.
So the Chromebooks that we had to purchase, was that a result of going distance learning? And are some of, no?
No, just regular upkeep, expanding the program and keeping all the Chromebooks that we're using in good condition. So just an annual replacement and expanding of the Chromebook program.
Okay.
If I may, I would add to that. So it was a refurbishment of you're getting in some new ones, but it also does allow us to put some Chromebooks down to the lower grade levels.
Any other discussion on the budget, on the numbers presented? Okay, so Pam Baker made the motion and Gary Michael seconded to approve the bills and payrolls of $231,93, deposits of $2,427,134.41, and transfers of $1 million. By roll, since we have no further discussion, we'll do roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And Pam Baker, yes, 7-0 roll call votes. The bills and payroll have been approved. Okay, moving along then, looks like we have a presentation by Ms. Wetzel and Mr. Richards.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Hello.
Hello. So Rachel and I have been working on putting together a STEM club trip. This will be my second time. It started a number of years ago when Jeff Brand and John Bakken put it together, and we're just kind of carrying on the tradition. This year's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be working with a traveling agency, and they're going to kind of help guide us through it, just because we don't have the expertise as John and Jeff did, and they help out quite a bit. We go down to Florida. We're looking at March 16th, March 20th, and then we do a number of different things at Walt Disney World, NASA. We're going to go snorkeling, a bunch of nice, fun things.
In the board books, there was a sample itinerary and then some other details on pages 24 and 25.
Everyone get those?
So I believe what we received on board books was a one page, I don't see a page number on there, but one page listing a sample itinerary, and then another page listing details as far as like the date, potential side trips. So it would be departing March 16th and returning March 20th. That there's
And I
going to be
think we are maybe looking at March 21st for the return date.
Okay, I'm just reading off of what the
Yeah.
document says. So you guys can continue. I just wanted to share with you what we're seeing online.
I guess we're just looking for approval from the board to move forward with the planning of the trip and get approval on the dates.
Okay. It's not listed under action item right now, but I would probably think it makes sense to open it up to board members if they're done with their presentation. If you have questions of Mrs. Wetzel and Mr. Richards, that now would be an appropriate time to ask those. Are there any questions?
I guess it's great.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Is there any steps being put in place in case the trip cannot be held again? So it's not so hard to recover money that's been spent on it and put down.
At
Yeah.
this point, I'm sorry, Rachel.
Go ahead, Mike.
At this point right now, what we're looking at is in August 18th, we're going to be having a meeting with the parents, which then would probably address those concerns moving forward. Right now, every student that's been working towards the trip has got a school fund where they've been putting their money into. That money is either going to be transferred either to siblings or then dealt with in a different way that way. But right now, Rachel and I don't have anything set forward.
The travel agent we've been working with is currently on a vacation too, but I can certainly send her some information on or specific questions if you have specific questions on that sort of thing.
Can I comment? Having participated in this before, I would suggest possibly to talk to them about some kind of insurance, trip insurance, as far as if they are asking for anything. I'm sure their company's dealt with that, and in light of where we're at now, would probably have it as well.
Can I just add, with the band choir trip, I talked to the group that does that, and she said if we would have gotten trip insurance, it would not have covered something like this, because that was my first reaction, is maybe we should always have groups, have that be built into part of the cost. And she said that wouldn't have covered, like a traditional trip insurance would have called this an act of God, and wouldn't have. So the only thing we're not getting back for band and choir is the non-refundable, like vendors that decided not to refund. And with, fingers crossed, if they go in November, we'll be able to use those credits. So the money won't be lost if we get everyone signed back up and going. But that's just the input on insurance.
The way the insurance is working is that if they cancel, you get a refund, but if you cancel, you don't get anything. So if you as a school cancel the trip because of the virus, and yet it still happens, you're out of luck. So there's a chance that some of it could get covered, but it would have to be because they canceled the flight, which is pretty unusual even nowadays, or if the place was shut down. So it's probably not worth getting.
Because I want to clarify the point I read in the fine print on the document provided. I think maybe Mr. Richards and Mrs. Wetzel could clarify that with their program person. It said full program refund program, an additional $259 covers cancellations, but it also says see terms and conditions. So again, it might be that it's an act of God and it's not covered, but are we paying that $259 as part of the fee that's stated above for each student of $2,287? So I guess that would be a point I think would be worth clarifying.
I don't think that the price there is including that full refund program, but I can check into if that full refund program would include cancellations based on current situations.
And is this open to grades 9 to 12 or 9-12?
I believe it'll be 10 through 12.
10-12, okay.
Yes, 10 through 12.
And was it supposed to happen last spring, but we didn't have it happen, or?
No, this is on schedule. This would
Okay.
every 3 years, so this would be the year it would be happening.
Okay. I wonder how parents feel about having 2 trips in 1 year potentially.
I have one of those students that will be going on 2 trips.
So do I.
So that's the money that was already spent for the choir trip is already there, and then we were already planning on this one. So this, the money's being allocated already. So
So it looks like you are asking for some action to occur, so we should probably have an item in the action portion, Joel? Okay. So we can act upon it. Are there any additional board member questions at this time for the trip? And we'll have an amendment, we'll add it to the action items.
So what exactly would we be voting on?
The fact that they can allow, that we're approving the trip, and it looks like the amended dates per the comment earlier would be, we're approving a March 16th through March 21 STEM trip to Orlando, Florida. Any other discussion? So we'll take an action on that during the action items. Okay, thanks for the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, it looks like Margaret Jewison has a few things to go over, a 2021 preliminary budget.
So I'm going to attempt to share my screen so you don't have to pull up individual items. So first we're going to look at the summary of fund balances, and this just gives us that projected beginning balance for next year, the revenues, the expenditures, and the budget, and then where that would put us at the end of next school year. So if you kind of look at the left-hand column where the general fund is 2.2 million and would end about just a little under 2.1 million, with that caveat down below that it does not reflect retro pay from this past school year. So we're projecting that would decrease by another $240,000 approximately. So that comes to about 52 days in operating. So when we talk about that 45 to 60 day operating window that we want our fund balance to be between, that's where we'll end up with that. I won't go through and read those individual items, but then you can also see the other fund balances down below. Food service, we need to take a look at our revenues and expenditures there, get some things in line. Community ed is sitting pretty well, but we are projecting that we would have to transfer some money to cover SAC again. So we'll just have to keep watching those revenues and expenditures. So that's what the majority of what's in that unreserved community education account. Then you see the total construction fund. We're just projecting to continue to spend that money with a little bit of revenue coming from interest. Debt fund, we levy that property tax money and make the payment on the bonds in the same year. So it's pretty much an in and out there. And custodial fund now reflects what was previously in the trust fund and the community, the student activity fund. So that's what you see together there under the custodial fund. So then if there's a couple of charts here so you can just get a sense of how that money is dispersed. So the first one shows general fund, where it's going for salaries, capital expenditures, those types of things. And then this shows by fund, and I excluded construction and debt fund in this just because those would really skew the numbers. So you can see general fund makes up over 90% of our activity, and then down to custodial being 1%. So then if we go back to the budget notes, this tells a little bit more about the assumptions that went into developing the budget. So it's based upon 773 ADM, and the per pupil funding allowance is $6,567. Again, 2% increase. That's been the status quo for several years. We do include $97,000 in revenue from the elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund and the governor's emergency relief fund. So that's one-time money as revenue. Our levy decreased $159,000 from the prior school year. We have $73,000 in integration and aid levy, $89,000 in rent from the Elysian building, which reflects the new lease agreement that was just signed. Our revenues include the $323,000 from long-term facility maintenance, and that was a incremental funding. It's now up to being fully funded. We have compensatory revenue decreasing approximately $57,000, and that fluctuates quite a bit. So I think it was about a $60,000 increase from the previous year into last year. So there's just some fluctuation there. And then we also have $47,000 in literacy aid. Now, if we look at expenses, the budget reflects known changes in positions, including retirements and resignations from last year and any known replacements. There are some that we don't have new hires in, so they're just assumptions, kind of an average hire. And then it includes anticipated wage increases based on the settlement of the master agreement. So these numbers aren't as tight as I'd like them to be. And so as contracts settle, I would like to put in actual numbers and present something to the board that's just a little bit, like I said, tighter to what we expect the actual to be. So we also have $65,000 in as part of that expansion of technology equipment. Our long-term facility maintenance includes roof repairs, carpet replacement, and the NAC contract. And I'll talk more about what we have planned in that in the next presentation. And it includes the purchase of a bus for $70,000. So again, as I said, oh, I have the wrong number of days in there, I think. I think it's 52. I think 63 is before it's adjusted, but I will double check my math on that. So then moving on to food service. Again, the federal government mandates that we increase our prices until our average cost is equal to what they fund for free and reduced meals. And their number is always moving, so ours is always moving. I think we get closer every year, but it's still a moving target, and so we'll continue to increase that as we need to. And the budget does reflect serving meals for a full school year. We know that might change. We might end up with some distance learning some days. So this is our best guess if we're back in the classroom and back in the cafeteria when we come to September. Community ed is very much continuing to offer programs when we have money available and to adjust them to keep that in the black. It's obviously operating with a lot of money in some programs, and school age care, we've made that decision to fund. So we'll continue to monitor those. So those are the big highlights of what I have. If people have specific questions, and as I said, we'll continue to look at salaries and benefits and get those a little bit closer as contracts settle and present something that's more in line with what actual numbers will look like.
I had a question for Joel. Just looking at that $70,000 for the bus, I think we've had new buses or different buses purchased for the last 3-4 years. How long do you think that's going to continue? Or does it? It doesn't seem like it.
And talking to our transportation person, it's probably just a 1-year deal. You know, we're not putting the miles on it. So.
So are they projecting not needing to purchase a bus after this year for a few years or whatever? I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm saying the other way. We're probably, you know, depending on how the school year goes and how many miles go on, and we'll, at a minimum, it'll be 1 per year.
Okay, thanks.
I think last year or the previous budget cycle, we had 2 buses. but we actually did not buy 2 buses in the same year, if I remember correctly. We ended up, one of them got delayed.
Correct.
And I did just check it, the number of operating days is 53. So that's 52, that 63 is incorrect. That was before I took out for the 240,000.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for Margaret on the budget presentation?
Yeah, I got some more. So forgive me, I'm losing it here, but did we make any decision on cuts, and is that represented in the budget? What did we go with?
So some of the positions that changed, we don't have as many overloads, or Dr. Wilson or Ms. Bastien can jump in, but I don't believe there are any overloads in this budget. We had some in social studies and some in science. So we've reflected the change with, Joel, I'm not sure, are all the changes on the agenda?
Yeah, Gary, I think he's implemented the $200,000 is what we were looking at when we went through those. I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
Okay, then I won't go through all of them.
So those are all implemented here. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. If there aren't any other questions, then we can move along to Margaret's 10-year facility maintenance plan presentation.
Pam, I think we're going to want to approve the preliminary budget.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't on an action item. So that was, okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So Gary Michael made the motion and Jay Schneider seconded to approve the 2020-2021 preliminary budget. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Then by roll call vote, John Belishek,
Yes.
Jeff Stangler,
Yes.
Gary Michael,
Yes.
Travis Bowman,
Yes.
Jay Schneider,
Yes.
Dan Houlihan,
Yes.
Pam Baker, yes. 7-0 by roll call vote. The preliminary budget has been approved for the 2020-21 school year. All right, then moving along, now we'll take a look at Margaret's 10-year long-term facility maintenance plan.
So there are 5 documents in total that I've attached, and 2 of them are just a simplified view of what I'm sending to the state, but because, okay, just want to make sure I wasn't muted. Because we're sending the whole file to the state, I did want to include it, but it's a little hard to read. So I just, first I'm looking at the revenue projections, and you can see there's a column for each of the next 10 years, starting with fiscal year 21. And the reason it's called FY22 is because we levy it in 21 as revenue for 2022. So it pulls in all the data that the state's using to calculate our revenue. And then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the 3-page summary, you'll see in line 34, the grand total long-term facility maintenance revenue. So you can see $321,024 for 2018, $322,188 for 2019, 19. So it progresses along. Those numbers are pretty consistent now. As we said, it phased in over 4 years. And then if you scroll a little further down, you'll see how much is levy, how much is aid. So line 46 shows how much is aid, and 47, how much of that is levy. So then that's the revenue side. And the revenue projection, again, this is the smaller document that's just a little bit more concise, but it's just the printout from the large Excel spreadsheet. And this is very similar. It shows a column for each year. Our base year of 2020 is the first year, and then it goes into our expenditures for 2021. And the fiscal years are always the year ending. So you can think of it like the graduating class of 2021. That's the year that we're talking about when we talk about fiscal year. It starts at the top with our health and safety projects. So health and safety statutes didn't go away. What we're responsible to maintain as far as lead in the water and all those laws still exist. We just don't levy for them separately. So as long as they're under $100,000 on an individual project, it's just part of the long-term facility maintenance money. And then if we had a larger project, we could levy additional dollars for it. So you can see we're at about $46,000 in health and safety money. And then all those zeros are the places where we could have those larger projects. We don't have any in there. And then it gets down to our other long-term facility maintenance projects. So building envelope, electrical, interior surfaces, plumbing, roofing. So you can just see a breakout there of how we have the money. So $20,000 to building envelope. That's going to be things like our tuck pointing. $10,000 for hardware and equipment, replacing some doors. I know just trying to coordinate a little bit with the construction project to expand some of the areas that are being touched and to continue on to areas that aren't, and that will continue in years going forward. So $20,000 in electrical, interior surfaces or things like carpet and paint, $25,000 there. $65,000 in mechanical systems. That's our NAC contract. $10,000 in plumbing, and $114,000 in the roof system. And that's in the elementary in Waterville, and then elementary high school combination for another section of the roof. So when more concise and specific projects are identified in this year and next year, and then they get a little bit more hypothetical going forward. So we're just looking at earmarking money that we know we'll have some of those same things every year to look at. So then as you look across the bottom, it shows how much we have budgeted to spend, and not necessarily budgeted, but just where we've allocated those monies to spend the revenue that I just presented. So both of these larger Excel documents go to the state, and then there's also a statement of assurances, and that just says we're following the laws, and that's something that Joel signs off on, but we've included that. So this is all the package that goes to the state. So if there's any questions on anything.
Margaret, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go back and forth here. I'm just reading after the spreadsheet, there is these categories. Category 3, remodeling for approved voluntary pre-K program.
Mm-hmm.
Under there it says, if the district has an approved BPK program, include planned expenditures for remodeling projects.
Yep, so that's just a district decision to use that money for something like that, or there's some different things built in that we can levy additional dollars. I guess we haven't looked at spending the money for that just because we have the need in other places, but those kinds of things are available, or like I said, doing the additional levy if we were to have $1 million asbestos abatement or something come up, we can levy that additional money. But mostly just under that health and safety that we can levy additional dollars beyond what is in the revenue slide.
But that says remodeling. Does that include asbestos?
It could. Typically, the state wants us to separate asbestos out for health and safety because they want us to record it that way. So they're keeping track of what schools are spending on those types of projects. So even though we don't report it the same way that we used to, or, you know, just the process going through the state to get it approved with this new system, they still want to track what we're spending on it and make sure districts are spending money to fix these things.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions about the long-term facility maintenance plan? Okay, is there a motion to approve the plan?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, Jeff Stangler made the motion to approve and Dan Houlihan seconded to approve the 10-year long-term facility maintenance plan as presented by Margaret. Any further discussion? Okay, then roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Pam Baker, yes. By roll call vote, it passes 7-0. Okay. Then we're moving along to visitor comments, and there were no comments submitted to me to be read aloud at the board meeting. Okay, so the next item up is to look at the June donation report. So on the June donation report, there is a New Tech Prep $1,000 scholarship, Elysian Auto $300 scholarship, and then 2 Clay Target donations, one from Gerald Miller for $1,000 and one from Waterville Sportsman's Club for $500. So the donations for June are $2,800.
So move.
I'll second. So Jay Schneider made the motion and Pam Baker seconded the June donation report. Is there any discussion?
I will just add, it's kind of a negative donation, but not really. We did return the Night of Excellence money to the Lions Club. They just had some other needs from community members at this time, and since we didn't have the expense, we did return that money to them at their request. So just if that ever came up that someone questioned it, that did happen. And it's one of the payments in the checks. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, by roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Dan? Dan? Maybe there's a little lag. Dan, can you hear us?
I can hear all the others, but not you.
Okay, so we're voting on the,
If you ask me, I vote yes.
I did ask you, thank you. And Pam Baker.
I heard Jay.
Okay, and Pam Baker, yes. So 7-0 by roll call vote. The donation report is approved.
I didn't
Okay,
get a
then,
vote.
Excuse me?
I didn't get to vote. It's 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did I not? I thought I read all the names. Did I not read all the names?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll try again. John?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Pam? Yes. By roll call vote, 7 yes. Donation report is approved. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, other recognition. It looks like there was some award given. I read about it in other literature as well. On Facebook, I believe there was a social media post. But Morristown was one of 67 schools in the state recognized for excellence in positive school climates and student support. I believe it's a PBIS award, correct? Yeah, so congratulations to those people and the building and staff